You sit down to do something that matters. Maybe it's work, maybe it's a book you've been meaning to read for months, maybe it's just a single email you need to write. You open your laptop, you take a breath, you're ready. And then, nothing, or worse, something. A notification, a reflex, a tab. You don't even remember deciding to open it. But 10 minutes later, you're somewhere completely different, watching a video you didn't choose, about something you don't particularly care about, wondering how you got there. You close the tab. You try again. And again, the same thing happens. If that sounds familiar, and for most people right now, it does, there's something important you need to understand. Something that goes much deeper than discipline or laziness or time management. Because the difficulty you're experiencing isn't a personal failure. It's the predictable result of living inside an environment that was specifically, deliberately engineered to make focus as difficult as possible. This video is about that, about what's actually happening in your brain when you try to concentrate and can't, about the systems and technologies that have reshaped human attention, often without our awareness or consent, and about what it actually takes, not the self-help version, but the real version, to take it back. There's a statistic that circulates regularly in conversations about attention, that the average human attention span has dropped to 8 seconds, shorter than a goldfish. It gets cited in articles, TED Talks, corporate training seminars. It's also almost certainly not true in any meaningful way. The original study it comes from is poorly designed and widely misrepresented. But here's the thing. Even if the goldfish comparison is nonsense, something real is happening. Something most people feel acutely but struggle to name. Researchers who study attention, actual neuroscientists and cognitive psychologists, not productivity influencers, have documented something more specific and more troubling than a shrinking attention span. What's changed isn't our capacity to focus. It's the conditions under which we're being asked to use it. Consider what a typical hour looks like for most people today. The phone buzzes. You check it. You lock it. You try to return to what you were doing, but your brain is still slightly activated from whatever you just saw, a news headline, a comment, a message that wasn't urgent, but felt like it might be. You settle back in. 30 seconds later, a different app notifies you. You resist it. You open a browser tab to look something up for work, and there's a news banner at the top, and you click it without meaning to, and then there are links in the article, and then it's been 20 minutes. This isn't a productivity failure. It's attention whiplash, and we're experiencing it dozens, sometimes hundreds of times per day. To understand why this matters, you have to understand something about how attention actually works. Focus isn't a switch you flip. It's more like a muscle, and like any muscle, it requires warm-up, it fatigues with overuse, and it atrophies when you stop using it seriously. Neuroscientists distinguish between several types of attention, but the one that matters most for meaningful work is what's called sustained attention, the ability to maintain concentration on a single task for an extended period of time. Sustained attention is how you read a difficult book, how you solve a complex problem, how you write something worth writing, how you learn anything deeply rather than superficially. It's also the kind of attention that feels increasingly rare. Part of this is neurological. When your brain encounters something new or stimulating, it releases a small amount of dopamine. Dopamine is commonly described as the brain's pleasure chemical, but that's slightly misleading. It's more accurate to call it the seeking chemical. It drives motivation, curiosity, anticipation. It's what makes you want to find out what happens next. In a normal environment, dopamine is released in response to meaningful things: food, connection, discovery, accomplishment. But modern technology has learned, through billions of dollars of engineering and user research, how to trigger dopamine release artificially, repeatedly, and at a frequency no natural environment ever could. Infinite scroll is a perfect example. There's no bottom. The feed never ends. And because you can't predict what the next item will be, a funny video, an outrageous headline, a photo from someone you used to know, your brain stays in a low-level state of anticipation. The same mechanism, incidentally, that makes slot machines so compelling. Variable reward. You don't get a hit every time. But you might, and that might is remarkably hard to walk away from. Short-form video operates on a similar principle. Every clip is a closed loop of novelty. Each one delivers its payload, a laugh, a surprise, a piece of information, in under 60 seconds, and then immediately offers another. Your attention never has to commit to anything. And slowly, without noticing, it starts to resist committing to things. Here's where it becomes important to say something directly. None of this is your fault. Not entirely. The apps on your phone were designed by some of the most sophisticated engineers on the planet, working alongside behavioral psychologists, with the explicit goal of maximizing the amount of time you spend inside them. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's the business model. Attention is the product. The longer they can hold yours, the more advertising they can sell, the more data they can collect, the more their platforms are worth. Former engineers and designers at major technology companies have spoken openly about this, that the features they built were intended to be habit-forming, that the metrics they optimized for, daily active users, time on platform, return rate, are by their nature in competition with your ability to be anywhere else, doing anything else. Understanding that doesn't absolve you of responsibility for your own life. But it does change the conversation. Because if you've been quietly blaming yourself for lacking discipline, for being distracted, for scrolling when you meant to work, you are fighting a much less fair fight than you realized. And knowing that the fight is unfair is actually the beginning of fighting it more effectively. The deeper cost of all this isn't just that work takes longer or that you feel tired at the end of the day. Those things are real, but they're surface-level symptoms. The real cost is harder to measure and harder to admit. Think about the last time you were genuinely absorbed in something. Not entertained, absorbed, the kind of focus where time dilutes, where the rest of the world goes quiet, where you're operating at the edge of your ability and it feels somehow both effortful and alive. Psychologists call this state flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying it and concluded that it's one of the primary conditions for human happiness, not pleasure, but genuine well-being. Flow requires sustained, uninterrupted attention. It cannot be accessed in 5-minute windows between notifications. It cannot be achieved in a brain that has been conditioned to expect a new stimulus every 30 seconds. Which means that for millions of people, this state, one of the most rewarding experiences available to human beings, has become increasingly inaccessible. Not because they're broken, because they're distracted. And then there's the effect on relationships. Real conversation requires the same thing focused work does: presence. The ability to be fully with another person without half your mind somewhere else. When attention is fragmented, so is intimacy. The partner who's half watching their phone during dinner isn't choosing the phone over the person. But the person feels it anyway. Learning is another casualty. True understanding of anything complex, history, science, philosophy, a craft, another person, takes time and depth. It requires sitting with difficulty long enough to break through it. The brain that's been trained on fast, frictionless information starts to treat friction as a signal to stop, rather than a signal to push through. And so knowledge stays shallow. Skills don't develop. Books get started and quietly abandoned. This is what's at stake, not just productivity, the texture of a life. So what does rebuilding look like? Not in the fantasy version, not the monk in the mountains version, but in the actual life most people are living with actual jobs and families and phones that aren't going anywhere. The first thing to understand is that your attention is trainable. Not by willpower alone, but by environment. Willpower is a finite resource, and using it to resist temptation all day is exhausting and ultimately losing strategy. The more effective approach is to change the environment so that fewer temptations need to be resisted in the first place. That starts with notifications. Most of the notifications on your phone are not urgent. They are designed to feel urgent. Turning them off, not muting them, actually disabling them, for the majority of apps removes a constant low-level interruption that costs you more than you realize. Research on interrupted work suggests it takes an average of around 20 minutes to return to deep focus after an interruption. If you're being interrupted every few minutes, you may never be getting there at all. The second shift is creating what some researchers call attention blocks, dedicated periods, however short, of single task focus. Not multitasking dressed up as productivity. One thing, for a defined amount of time. Phone in another room, not face down on the desk, because even the visible presence of a phone has been shown to reduce available cognitive capacity, even when you're not looking at it. The length of these blocks matters less than their integrity. 20 minutes of genuine focus is worth more than 2 hours of distracted half work. And if 20 minutes feels difficult at first, that's information, not failure. It means your capacity for sustained attention has been underused, and it needs to be rebuilt gradually, like a muscle returning from injury. You start where you are, not where you wish you were. Reading longer content helps more than almost anything else. Books, long-form articles, essays, anything that requires you to hold a thread for more than a few paragraphs. It's uncomfortable at first if you've been living on short-form content. Your brain will resist. It will want to check something, look something up, move on. Sitting through that discomfort repeatedly is how you recalibrate what your attention is willing to do. Spending time without any screen at all, even just 30 minutes of walking, sitting outside, letting your mind wander without filling it with input is not unproductive. It's when the brain consolidates, processes, and generates. Many of the best ideas people have come not during focused work sessions, but in the gaps between them. Boredom, which we've nearly eliminated from modern life, turns out to be surprisingly valuable. Sleep matters more than most people want to admit. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain most responsible for sustained attention, decision-making, and impulse control, is also the part most sensitive to sleep deprivation. A brain running on 6 hours of sleep doesn't just feel tired. It measurably struggles to filter distractions and maintain focus. No productivity system in the world compensates for chronic sleep debt. Here are some questions that are worth sitting with honestly. When was the last time you were fully focused on one thing for an uninterrupted hour? Not at a movie where the environment does the focusing for you, but in your own life, on something you chose? What do you reach for first when you're bored? And what are you avoiding when you do? Is there something you wanted to learn, build, write, or understand, something that would require sustained effort over time, that keeps getting postponed? And what has been filling that time instead? These aren't guilt trips. They're just useful mirrors. Your attention is not unlimited, and it is not invincible. It is a resource, finite, renewable, and genuinely precious in a way that almost nothing else you own is. The world you live in right now contains more competition for that resource than any previous generation in human history has ever faced. That's not hyperbole. It's just the arithmetic of an era where thousands of engineers and billions of dollars are pointed daily at the same question: How do we get people to keep looking at this a little longer? You are allowed to opt out of that. Not entirely. That's not realistic and probably not desirable. But partially, intentionally, on your own terms. The version of yourself that can read deeply, think clearly, work with genuine concentration, and be fully present in a conversation. That version isn't gone. It's just been crowded out. And crowded out things can return given the right conditions. Attention, reclaimed and protected, is not just a productivity tool. It's how you actually inhabit your life, rather than skim across the surface of it. If this resonated with you, if there was a moment watching this where something clicked, or where you recognized yourself in a way that was a little uncomfortable, I'd encourage you to do one thing before this video ends. Not a grand overhaul, just one thing. Identify one small change you can make today to give your attention a little more room to breathe. If this kind of content is useful to you, subscribing means you'll have more of it when you want it. No algorithm chasing, just a channel that tries to make the psychology of being human a little clearer and a little more navigable. And if you know someone who's been quietly struggling with this, someone who's mentioned feeling scattered, overwhelmed, or like they just can't get things done anymore, sharing this might be worth more than you think. Your attention is worth protecting. It always was.